Hi, it's Carol, and I'm on my year-long journey through Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. This is week 9. So I wanted to go through some of the basic differences between karate versus Jiu-Jitsu. So when you are looking around for martial arts classes to take, you'll be able to make an educated decision. So I have done Korean style karate, Tung Do, for about 14 years, and I recently got my master belt, I don't know, 1 or 2 years ago, in Korean karate. So karate is a very punching, kicking, striking type of art, whereas Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, on the other hand, is a ground art where you do grappling and you do techniques that you can submit your opponent or your partner. And these techniques are ways that you can lock either their arms, leg locks, or choke people into submission. So they're really completely different arts. And I thought, oh, I did karate for quite a few years. I'd go into jiu-jitsu and I'd be, it would be completely natural. It's not the case. So those are some fundamental differences in karate versus Brazilian jiu-jitsu. In karate, a class is very similar to, it's a singular person. You are doing it with a group of people, and you start out with calisthenic type exercises to get you warmed up. So that is fairly simple start to class. And then you do the karate, calisthenics, or things like jumping jacks. In jiu-jitsu, you do the same thing to warm up. You do jumping jacks. You do footwork in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. In karate, you do jumping jacks, and then you do basic techniques. And in karate, basic techniques are basic blocks and basic, so they're hand techniques and basic punches. In jiu-jitsu, they are things like bridging and shrimping. And bridging is where you push, you're laying on the ground, you push your hips up and pretend you're trying to get an opponent off. Shrimping, you're pushing, yourself forward. So there are different starting techniques in both classes. In karate, you do kicking, so you do stretching for kicking. In Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you do stretching so you can wrap your legs around an opponent, make sure you're flexible enough and you're able to do that. Use your legs a lot in Jiu-Jitsu. You also, in karate, you do arm movements and you do leg movements to strike your opponent or block the opponent. So that's how you warm up in both classes. So they are slightly different. Most jiu-jitsu you're doing on the ground. Karate it's all standing up. And then you get into kind of the meat of the class or the bulk of the class. In karate, you're doing things like all your techniques. You're doing, 50 punches and 50 kicks and all different kinds of kicks and all different kind of punches and blocks, and you'll do combination of those. In Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you do things like you learn a technique which is demonstrated on a partner by your instructor. So they'll demonstrate the technique about three times, and then you go back with you and your partner and you practice those techniques, and then you're brought together, and throughout the class it's kind of a building upon of the technique. In karate, it's kind of like that, but you'll do things like, your basics, which are the kicks and the punches. Then you'll get into something called forms, which is choreographed fighting with a pretend opponent. And the pretend opponent, it just happens to be, your size, and you have to move your techniques to fight a person your size. So those are what forms are. If you type in forms, there's all kind of different forms for different arts. Japanese style have different choreographed fighting forms, and Korean styles have different, and some of them have similarities. Chinese arts are a little bit different. And then at the end of karate class, you do sparring, and same with jujitsu. In jujitsu class, you also do sparring. In karate, it's called sparring, which is fighting against an opponent, and you're paired up with a person during karate class. In jujitsu, you can do rolling. And in the class that I go to, rolling is optional. And that's when you're kind of learning your techniques and learning how to do them with an opponent. And you may both choose to do certain things, but it's like a free experience that you're taking the techniques you learned in class and practicing them on an opponent. So that's your partner that you have in jiu-jitsu or whomever you choose to spar with. So that's the jiu-jitsu kind of fighting part of it. In karate, typically we're paired up and we do a certain amount of rounds, and you may be paired with different individuals. And even prior to that, in my class, we do something called one step, and it is, again, a choreographed type of technique where they do self-defense moves. We do with our partners. And again, we're paired up in karate class, and you punch and you do like a self-defense technique. We also do punching techniques and wrist techniques. We grab lapels and that kind of thing. That really doesn't happen in jiu-jitsu. So fundamentally, overall, if you were trying to choose a martial art, always make sure you go and see a class first. And you may want to go at different times. Say if they have a Saturday class, can be very different than Monday classes, or an advanced class versus a beginner class. So always check out, and always check out a class, always check out a reviews. What are people really saying? What are they putting out on social media? You want to check all that. See if you can maybe talk to a couple students when you're there looking at the class. Definitely talk to the instructors, see what their philosophy is. You don't want it to be like Cobra Kai was you're trying to start out just in beginning classes in martial arts. So karate is definitely going to be striking, punching, kicking, and it's a stand-up art. And jiu-jitsu, on the other hand, think of it, it's a ground art, think wrestling and techniques you can use to try to get away from people, but on the ground. So it's a lot of physical, you're very close with the partner, and you got to be kind of comfortable with partner work. And your partners are typically going to be great, and they will help you through it if you're really not used to working with people all the time. So this was week 9. I went to one class because I had a really busy week. I had a really good time. And I hope this helps if you're trying to figure out which one to go to. I really love karate all those years. I still go when I have a chance. I'll be testing for my 5th degree black belt in I think 1 or 2 years. And for that particular part, I will be breaking a board while I am standing on some glass. So I'll keep you posted on that one. And then if you want to try jiu-jitsu, different philosophy, different zen. You're not physically striking someone, but you're working with a partner, and you're trying to figure how to get the space and distance you need to, go in and get your techniques. I hope this helped you, and I will see you soon on the mat. If you have any questions, just put it down below and I will try to answer them, and have a good night. See ya. Bye.